Two Bulls in a China Shop is brought to you in part by our sponsors and friends over at Manscaped, Trade Pro Academy, and Vanta Trading. Manscaped is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming with precision-engineered tools for your family jewels, and with a new and improved 2.0 version of the Weed Whacker now available, it's the perfect time to take advantage of our exclusive offer of 20% off and free worldwide shipping using promo code 2bulls at manscaped.com. As always, that is the number 2. And when it comes to institutional quality trading education, look no further than tradeproacademy.com. In our free Discord server, you'll find instructions to take advantage of our discount with them as well. And for anyone trading futures, check out vantatrading.com. Founded by Mr. W. Banks and Baba Yaga, they provide a ton of educational content with the focus of teaching aspiring traders how to build a repeatable, profitable process. Our exclusive discount code for Vanta can also be found in our free Discord server. We'll have all of those links and more in the episode description. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed today's conversation.
You are listening to an entertainment program put together by a company called Financial Ineptitude. Anything said on this show is not an endorsement or professional advice. Would you really want to tell a court of law you were suing us because you thought taking financial advice from two idiots on a podcast put out by Financial Ineptitude was a good idea? Really? Clown hat smiley face.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to the China Shop. Joining me today, I have the candid and captivating Kevin Jefferson, Forex trader and founder of the Cash Flow Creation Club. If you'd like to learn more about today's guest, make sure you check out his website at fmtrades.com, or you can follow his YouTube channel at ForexFam. And finally, please feel free to reach out with your suggestions, corrections, questions for future guests. You can do that via email at 2bulls@financialineptitude.com, or you can join our free Discord server, where a bunch of amazing people gather to share our struggles and lessons learned with other like-minded market aficionados. We'll have links for all that stuff in the episode description, so you can peruse them at your convenience. Now that we got all the business stuff out of the way, let's get to know today's guest. Kevin, how are you doing today, man?
I am well, Kyle. Thank you for having me. How are you?
Fantastic. Just enjoying the what do you call it? The bachelor weekend that I haven't had in a long time. So got the wife. She went to go visit her daughter in Phoenix, so I've been living alone for the last 3 days.
Man, I tell you, well, you survived first and foremost. So she must have really, it's like leaving an animal with their dish and their water and saying,
Right.
the next 3 days.
I went shopping with her before we left, so I'd have at least some dinner plan ideas and wouldn't be eating frozen pizzas the entire week.
There you go. That's right. Full bachelor mode, man.
Right. Exactly.
Right on.
So how you been, man? So you trade Forex, is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct, man. I'm doing well here in Dallas, Texas, and I've been trading Forex as a part of my 20 plus year career in finance. I've actually been trading Forex for about 15 of those. So it's pretty ingrained in my journey.
Wow. So, but you didn't start with Forex.
No, not at all. So actually, I started in the industry coincidentally a couple of months after September 11, 2001. So I was former military, and I was working actually for Georgia Pacific. Thank you. Sound like I know the military guys. And so I was with Georgia Pacific, but my heart was always in finance. And so in 2001, it was an era where there was a big push for a lot of, in my opinion, bro, it was like a lot of people pushing to get ex-military officers and NCOs. They were really clearly looking for leadership in corporate America.
Yeah.
And so, so in Georgia Pacific, they hired us, hired me out. That was my first job out of the military, where I was a field artillery officer, West Point grad, all that stuff. So I played around in the dirt and got out. And Georgia Pacific was a really cool place to start my career because they had a 1-year program that was it was a fast track management program. And so they taught you everything from design to customer service to shipping, manufacturing, logistics. Sales, customer service. It was really, really pretty dope, right? For a year they paid you just to learn, and then they switched you to another plant because they obviously didn't want you, trying to lead where you learn, right? So
right.
It's like going to boot camp and then all of a sudden you know how that goes. It's crazy.
Well, yeah.
So anyway, I ended up moving to I was living in Memphis, Cordova, whatever, in Tennessee. And then I moved to
I've been there.
Yeah, man. So, I like Memphis as a place to visit. I live, like you say, a little bit out, like on the outskirts or whatever. And it's grown so much. My wife has family there, man. So I'm there now more. I probably spent more time in Memphis as a visitor now than I did when I lived
There's
there.
such great blues music there. When I my first job when I got out of the military was at the steel mill in Nucor, Memphis. If
Yeah,
I'm
I'm familiar
familiar.
with it.
Yeah, that's where when they bought that plant from Birmingham and started it back up, I was there for the commissioning of that.
Wow, wow, that is
Right.
crazy. Yeah,
Man, the music on Beale Street though, man. First time I was there, I didn't know Memphis was such a party town, man. Those guys don't they close one bar and another one opens up 2 hours
man,
later. Like
bro. Hey, let me tell you, barbecue, brew, bourbon, and
yeah.
blues. You know what I mean? Like all the
Oh
bees
yeah.
are on Beale Street
Yes.
and beyond. No, that's crazy, right?
One of the guys I worked with, he actually had an apartment in Fraser Street, if you can believe that.
Oh, oh my
Tubby
God.
white guy, he liked to play World of Warcraft.
That's crazy, man. Hey, bro. I believe anything, man. I believe
Uh-huh.
anything's possible. So I love it too, man. The food's good.
Mm-hmm.
Funny story. So when I was with GP, there was a guy named Larry who he was the design guy. Larry June was his name, and
Mm-hmm.
so we would go to lunch, and he was the skinny white dude with glasses, like looked like a design guy would look like kind of
Yeah,
a
yeah.
white trench coat type dude, and
Like a flasher.
right. Or that, you know what I'm saying? Or that,
Yeah.
so we're at this, I think we're at Interstate Barbecue, one of those barbecue like famous joints or whatever. And so he and I, like, to bring some texture to it, Larry and I, we were in that place where I was studying under him. So probably for several weeks, I had been like, he and I just been kicking it, like me and him, because ain't nobody else in the
Mm-hmm.
design department but Larry. And so so we go to lunch, man, and he's introduced me to some guy he knows, and he's like, yeah. Now my name is Kevin Jefferson, by the way, but he says, yeah,
Yeah.
I want you to introduce my friend Clint Alexander, like my good friend. I'm like, who is Clint Alexander, dude? I mean, he was like, I don't know where that came from. I'm like, you know what? Anything's possible. So I ain't mad about nothing. You can call me anything you want to, people you can play
Wow.
with. Yeah, it was crazy.
That's
So
not even close.
at all. So like, he's a smart guy, but that happens to me all the time, man. But just to say that I don't really freak out about much because, people can't even
Right,
my name
right.
right when they spend time with me. So, but
Dan, that's crazy that did they let you use the GI Bill too as part of the training program that you went into? Because I
yeah.
remember
So
Alcoa did something similar with that.
yeah, we did. So that would have been kind of different because I would have probably been going to actually pay for something to do
Yeah.
it, but like they literally were paying me, like for real. Like I was on their payroll as a supervisor, getting supervisor pay, and I was just basically I was doing OJT, So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and it was container board and packaging, so we were like making brown boxes, man, and that's actually what I would say informed. It kind of really gave me a lot of perspective on a lot of
Mm-hmm.
things because we were making boxes, and probably the sexiest boxes we made were these things called pre-print boxes where we would make the Eggo waffle boxes, like the Eggo waffles, Lego
Oh,
my Eggo, yeah, like
oh,
the
yeah. I'm
shipment boxes, yeah. And
very
so
familiar with those.
right on, so yeah, me too. My
Right,
kids
right.
they'll vouch for it, right on,
Yeah.
And so, but that's when I realized I was like, man, you know what? You can make a lot of money doing really stupid and simple shit, right? And so,
Yeah.
like, so these guys are making we're making brown boxes, and it's $1 billion industry. I mean, legit
Mm-hmm.
$1 billion. And so it expanded my mind to the possibilities. And I think that's kind of really what helped me in my journey with the financial piece is that I never really saw boundaries, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
I was with GP, but my heart was always in finance. Even going back to West Point, I remember I buy all these these financial magazines and business magazines because I just felt like I needed to be doing something like bigger than just earning an income from some gig or
Right.
whatever. And so I went and Merrill Lynch called me in 2001, asked me if I wanted to interview to become a financial advisor. I was like, heck yeah, that's what I've been waiting for. I mean, I was literally going on weekends. I spent my weekends in Barnes and Noble trying to study like what would it take to become a financial advisor. This is back in the early 2000s, so the internet
Yeah,
wasn't.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
Back when you had to get the books in print.
you had to literally go and physically get the books, and then,
Yep.
but at least you can weed through the bullshit a little bit better because you're in
Right.
Barnes and Noble, and everybody's selling something, but you can kind of you can kind of measure it up a little quicker. I don't know.
There's a little more checks and balances for the
Right
material that
on.
gets put on their bookshelves than does on the internet or Wikipedia.
Exactly. That's exactly the point. I couldn't have said it better, right? So there was some beauty to that time in our lives, right? But
Yeah.
but I got the call, and so I was literally interviewing with Merrill Lynch 2 months after September 11th, 2001. So in November of '01, I'm flying up to New Jersey where their headquarters is, or was. I don't know where it is now. And I'm they're asking me why I want to be a financial advisor. I mean, that's a very powerful question to ask somebody 2 months after September 11th, 2001, and they're in your office wanting to become a financial advisor. I mean, it does.
Right.
It says a lot, and so I remember waxing poetic about, how I wanted to I wanted to learn all this information and bring it back to my community and teach others. And the guy stops me and is like, and you want to make money, right? I was like, oh yeah, of course I want to make money too, So like they
Yeah.
were still focused on the main thing, but I got into the industry and under those circumstances, and I became an advisor, went into production in February of 2002, and it was a really, because of everything that had happened with 9/11, it changed how I could even present and try to come forth as a financial advisor. And so all of this stuff kind of really, I would say, it framed my entree into Forex, because of, like you say, all these things are like reshaping my mindset and understanding of what's important and what isn't important, and so on and so forth. And so
Yeah.
when I went into production, nobody wanted to buy stocks, obviously. And so I had two things that I would do primarily, which was I offered a lot of wealthy people who had, large valued homes. I call them or clients and say, how about I gave you a 1% interest rate on your mortgage, and so, so we had, yeah, I mean,
Right.
so that'll get your attention. So you get a 1% LIBOR based, interest only loan. And then now you've got more money to go either, buy more stock or do whatever. So, I was just finding creative ways to get people involved, and,
Wow.
but my biggest thing was,
1% low. Do you still have
no,
those
I
connections?
don't think they don't even do right. I don't even think they do that anymore, bro. Like I don't
No.
even think it exists anymore. I think they got a
No.
6 month LIBOR. They don't even have a 1 month anymore. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so it was good though. I mean, it was like well, one thing I would say with being with a big wirehouse like that is that you got exposure to things that you didn't, like, to your point, things that you didn't even realize were possible. You know what I'm saying? And so
Mhm.
that opened my mind up, and then I would deal with a lot of business owners, because I felt like we were all in the same similar vein, in that they were trying to survive. I
Mhm.
decided, for whatever crazy reason, I wanted to be a financial advisor, in the worst economic times I've ever seen. And and so I'm like, we're both trying to like make it, right? You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
so
Right.
I would call these business owners and I would just ask them if they would like to get a better rate on their line of credit. And so for people who don't get why I was going like with the loan or the debt or the interest rate based stuff, Kyle, a lot of times when the market's down, it kind of has a seesaw effect, obviously. So when the
Mhm.
market's down, generally interest rates are down, because whoever the powers that are, they're trying to
Sure.
stimulate economic growth,
Right.
right?
Right.
The cost of money goes down. And so I would just call these guys about their lines of credit that they already had in existence and say, hey, what if I can get you a better interest rate on your line of credit? And the smart ones would be like, hell yeah, let's talk about it, because anything that you save in interest is going directly to your bottom line. And
Right.
so I just kind of really got creative about it. It opened up a lot of conversations, and they became a lot of resonance with business owners. Just with me, I just kind of vibe with them a little bit more. And so that informed my journey, man. Really,
I,
business
I
owners are a big part of where I am.
I love what you said there, because that's one of the. I mean, we talked about that a few times. George Papazov, one of the first guests we ever had, when he came on, he told us, like, there's two ways to get more profitable. Like, you can either make more money on your trades, or you can spend less or lose less money.
Right on. Absolutely.
But whatever you can spend less on interest, yeah, is just freeing up and making you more profitable.
Straight up, straight mathematics, man. And yeah,
Hmm.
and if you do both, then you're really winning. So if you can make
Right.
more money and cut your expenses, life is really good. So yeah, man. So I just took that with me, and eventually went independent. In 2005, I started my own advisory practice, and
Is there a specific reason why you decided to go out on your own? Like, was there something you didn't like about the industry you were in, or just wanted to take the chance and do it yourself?
great question. So when I envisioned going into the advisory space at all, when I wasn't even in it, my biggest desire was really to have my own. I mean, I was really
Hmm.
on ownership. And so I couldn't do that straight out the gate. You've got to get, your series
Yeah.
7, your 63, 66, all that stuff. And you've also got to cut your teeth. And so, a dude showing up on your doorstep saying, I just started my own practice, is not the same as I'm Kevin Jefferson with Merrill Lynch, you know what I mean? So,
Yes. Yes.
I use the big elephant, I use the big tiger in the room to get in the room, create relationships. And then when people already had relationship with me, it was easier to say, hey man, I'm going out on my own because I want to blow this thing out, make more money, and have more flex. And people are like, cool, because we already been rocking with you. So it was strategic. And it was about 4 years in the making. I went from Merrill, and then I got recruited to Edward Jones because they wanted more Black financial advisors. I was in Alabama, and they wanted to open up, in a new office up there. So they recruited me away. Spent a couple years with them, and that was cool. I would say Merrill taught me really more about wealth management. I think I really
Okay.
learned like the artistry of tax harvesting and loss harvesting, and how to like net unrealized appreciation, and all these different cute things that people do to keep more of their assets. And I
Or
feel
they
like
say they do.
so they say they do,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Exactly, right. And then Edward Jones helped me really understand how to run a business, because they, even though you don't really
Mm,
own the office, they make you run it like a business. You have a P&L statement, you got an assistant, you're paying part of it really helps them because you're paying part of your expenses out of your commissions, but you do get a chance to see, okay, this is what it really takes to run a practice. So I feel like I had a good runway between product and experiential knowledge, and then learning the business side of running a practice to like launch out. You know what I'm saying? And so
right, right.
that's where I went. And then you get paid more when you go independent.
Well, yeah.
So now, like, you talk about increasing income, sometimes reduce the expense of being with a wirehouse. That's enough to double your income right off the bat. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
yeah, man. So it was just, that was just my journey. That's what I wanted to do.
Man, that's such a fascinating journey too. And I love the mentality too of the I'm not looking to go out and strike it rich on day one. I'm going to put the time in and learn the job. And I feel like that's another thing that when people try to get involved in trading, like the barrier to entry is so low, and it just feels like there's a lot of people that don't realize that there's a lot of time and effort that gets put into it. Like if you start working at, I don't know, say you go work the factory floors at Tesla, and like you're not going to start out as like sweeping the floors and then go talk to your boss and be like, "Hey, I want the same things that the CEO has."
Exactly.
Like, you got to put your time in, man.
Right. You can do that, and they're gonna probably show you the CEO's
Try.
office on the way out the door. Right.
Yeah, it's like, oh, here's where this trash can is. Go empty it.
Exactly. Go right. Get that. Yeah, and then you're fired. Right.
But yeah, I mean, using that as the chance to build credibility. Not only that, but also you learned a shitload during that time too. It sounds like.
No doubt about it, man. I'm really grateful for. I don't know what it was about that. I think I always had, to be honest, I had already been operating in a level of frustration
Hmm.
when I first went to the military. And what I mean by that is I was, I got out, I got out there in the military, was a second lieutenant, and got a little bit of enough money, little money, not a lot of money. They didn't make a lot of money,
Yeah.
but because I didn't have college bills, it was a little bit different. And
Hmm.
I wanted to I wanted to be an entrepreneur, man. So I was like, I would try everything. I was, what Amazon is now used to be in a booklet that you would buy.
Right.
Some dude
Right.
online, I remember there's this Chinese dude on a boat, at night with all these beautiful women selling something. I don't know if he was selling real estate or selling direct marketing or whatever, but hey, I got some direct marketing books, man. And so you're trying to sell stuff out of a book and drop shipping. I mean, all the crazy stuff. And all I missed was really mentorship, And so I was
Hmm.
frustrated because I didn't have mentorship, but I had all this motivation. And so I think that because I was already frustrated with my journey when I kind of got beyond the military, I was already frustrated with not having what I felt were the resources to make me what I wanted to be.
Hmm.
When I got control over my time again in that respect, I really went hard on like making sure that I put myself in position to win. And it was I don't know. It was just a process. It's like, okay, once I get in now, I can,
Hmm.
first of all, you have to succeed to stay in the game anyway. So like that
Right.
part, you get your confidence up because you live long enough to be an advisor for several years. But then,
That's an excellent point.
and so yeah, because it's the worst $50,000 job a year job you'll ever have in your life. So I promise you that shit, maybe 100 even, because like with the bullshit you go through to get that money, you could have just went and worked at Walmart.
Right.
And
Right.
so so some things came from that, but I was just really focused on my goal of really trying to position myself financially to have the liberty that I wanted, man. And so that's what drove me, honestly. And
Yeah.
so, did what it took to kind of get there. And it was, I would say honestly, the first 20 years. So I'm 48. I've been in finance for 21 years now.
Hmm.
And I would say that the first half was what I call the accumulation phase. That's of knowledge, of resources, of relationships, and leaving lessons that I've earned. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Things that I've
Yeah.
invested in that really did not work out. And yeah,
We're talking about those.
you know what I'm saying? Right. We got to, if we're being real, we got to cash those too. But then now, I feel like I'm on a distribution phase now to where all of the things that I've earned and grown in over the years, I'm able to really share them in a meaningful way with other people, and so I'm really happy about this part of my journey just as much as, if not more than where I started.
Well, damn it, that segues into the FM trades and what the latest venture there. But I kind of want to talk a little more about how you got into Forex. Like, why Forex first?
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. So, all right, so I'll take you a couple steps back and kind of what triggered my mind to really get intentional about trying to learn something like trading, right? And so, one of my clients, a guy, and people hear me talk about him all the time because he really impacted me. Is an African American gentleman by the name of Sid Hutchinson. When I lived in Alabama, he was one of my clients, and he had retired and sold his tailoring shop. He had a custom tailoring practice business or whatever, and so his apprentice, a lady, he sold his business to her, and so he was retired. So we would buy bonds, and one day I was at his house, and we were filling out some paperwork for a purchase or whatever, and it was like 2004, and I remember him telling me, he was like, something on the news. He was like, I've never seen anybody. It must have been something around unemployment, because he was like, I've never seen anybody that had a trade, i.e., like a technical skill that if they wanted to work, they couldn't work, And so, that stuck with me, you know what I mean? And so, and I was always a big advocate of trade schools anyway. I felt like a lot of college is bullshit. Yeah.
Yes.
And so, so I'm like, man, no, this is right in alignment where I feel about life. And so with that, I went and bought a book. So in that mindset, I went and bought a book on how to trade the stock market. And
Which one was it?
I don't even fucking remember, man. It was so long. all I know, what I can tell you is that the book was, it was neat to look at, but I'm looking at it and it's got these candlesticks, and I didn't know, like, none of it made sense. Like, it was just like going and saying, I want to learn how to speak German, and I go get a book in German, and then I start reading German. Like, it didn't, that ain't how you do it, So,
no.
but it discouraged me enough, it discouraged me enough. I'm like, man, all right, I'm gonna put this down. And then I moved back to Texas. And so, so I kind of had other things keeping me occupied, and it didn't hurt bad enough because I didn't need the money from trade. You know what I mean? So it was like, I had some barriers to kind of going down that path. But when I moved back to Dallas, I was about to move back to Dallas in 2009, but before I came back, 2008, and I don't know if you've ever seen this, but CNBC has or had this thing called the Portfolio Challenge. Have you heard of it?
Oh, I think that sounds familiar. That was old though, wasn't it?
Yeah. So what it was, just kind of refresh your memory, was
old is relative, but
well, yeah, yeah, everything's relative, man. Shit,
Yeah.
But back, it was around at least as late as 2009, 2010, right after the last financial crisis. And so what they had, and I had been participating for several years, even before I became an advisor, they would give you a notional portfolio of $1 million, and then they would let you invest it however you wanted to, and then you compete, and the highest performer after a certain period of time got $1 million, like legit.
Right.
And so in 2008, they added the asset class of foreign currency trading, and so that was intriguing to me because I, like most people, had the only understanding of currency trading was when I'm in an airport about to go to a foreign country.
Exactly.
I'm trading, you know what I'm saying? I'm trading my currency for there, so I, better exchange rate. Supply and demand, though. That's exactly what it is. And so when I figured it out in 2008, just to bring people up to speed on like what was going on, the euro was really killing the dollar. Like, the euro was twice as valuable. You know what I mean?
I actually, I had to make a trip to Italy right when I got out for a training class, and like the exchange rate just was killing me.
Right on. So so it was outrageous. I mean, it was good for exports. It was bad for us, as travelers, So So I bought euro, man. I took the FX piece, and I didn't know anything about leverage, which is a big part of Forex.
Right.
I didn't know anything about what drove anything. I just said, hey man, if the euro is killing the dollar, I'm buying euro. So I bought it, and when I checked the portfolio, maybe a week or so later, it had grown like exponentially, like by several $100,000. And so I was like, what the fuck? I'm like, okay, I'm pretty good. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're
so I'm like, I know I'm good, but I ain't that good,
I fucked something up.
So, right. I fucked something up. Something ain't right. And, it went really well, So I went and looked, and it was the Forex piece that had grown. And so I said, okay, let me check this out. So FXCM, which is no longer allowed to do business in the United States because they were liars. And that I kind of personal about that because I feel like they owe me some money, but that's another conversation.
Yeah.
But
Good luck.
but yeah, good luck with that. Exactly. I just kind of write that off.
Yeah.
But they would, they would get accounts from, you learning about Forex through them, and they had classes and blah, blah, blah. And so the bug bit me. I was like, anything that can grow this fast, I need to learn about it,
Yeah.
And so that kind of got me going, and I opened up an account and I kind of went on that journey. And, you have a little beginner's luck, but then you realize that it really shows you a lot about yourself and in a lot of ways when you really get involved in trading. And I'll expound upon that some more later. But I realized a lot of the non-positive tendencies I had because I was, like most people, treated it like a casino. You put in, $1,500, you make $3,000 in 15 minutes. You got the rest of the day off. It's like you and all the old retired people at the movie. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's all it is. I mean,
yeah.
Everybody else is at work, and so, I mean, but just like that, it gets addictive, and then you go give your money back plus some. And so I went through all of that, man, but it was the ability to make so much money so fast and with a relatively small amount of money that really intrigued me. And I'll get into the specifics of how that really works now, but that got me going. And so with technology aligning with Forex at the right time in my life, it gave me an entree to start learning it a little bit differently than probably I would have even, 5-6 years before that.
Yeah, because that's when really electronic trading really started to take off. It's right around that time, wasn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it was very fresh, very, very fresh. Yeah. So what I did was I went on that path, and I just was blowing money, man. I could have went to Harvard for what I gave to the markets, like, for real. Like, no scholarship, for real, bro. I mean, so I was like, this is crazy.
Got to pay that tuition, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. That was my for real tuition. But at one point I got serious. One of my childhood friends, he was one of the only other guys I knew who was trading. We grew up playing soccer together, a guy named Toby. And then another dude named Kyle, I think his name was also.
That wasn't me.
Yeah, right. Right. It wasn't this Kyle. Right. This is right. Not this Kyle.
Yeah.
But and so we would get on the phone 2:00 in the morning and like literally have trading sessions, because the internet wasn't robust like that.
Right.
So we just be on the phone, man, have a 2:00 in the morning London session. And so why people asking, like, why are you on the phone at 2:00 in the morning talking about trading the market? And so let me kind of share with you what Forex is, how it works, and then why I was up at 2:00 in the morning trading it.
Well, it sounds very similar to futures then, at least as far as like the 24-hour market. Because I know there's a lot of people that trade like Globex, and I don't touch it. I don't like the low volatility and liquidity, but
right.
I definitely see the appeal.
It is. It's so that's the piece. Is because it's global. It's a 24-hour market.
Yeah.
And so we would trade the London session because the London session behaved a little bit more civilly than the U.S. session.
Yes,
so,
I would agree with that.
So that's where we be trading, man. And so Forex is basically why I chose Forex over maybe stock trading. And I'll kind of lay it out. And so in the stock market, if you have $1, you literally, and you buy a stock, whatever, let's say that stock is worth $1, you literally have, that stock has to go up by 100% for that dollar to become $2, right. whatever methodology that is, right?
Yeah.
And so if you could take that same dollar in the currency market and think leverage, and that dollar could literally have the buying power of $100. Now all you have to do is grow that $100 by 1% to get the same dollar.
Right.
And so the leverage play allows you more opportunities with less capital at risk if you do it right. And it allows you to get what I consider what people would be happy with in a year. You can get that in a month or 2 months. And so now you can really do what I call collapse time by consistently trading, not being crazy with it, but earning enough to where you could literally maybe create 2 or 3 years worth of returns in a year, where you generally won't in the stock market. And so because of leverage, it allows you a lot more opportunities to make more in the same amount of time. And so the logical question that a lot of people would maybe ask is, what is leverage and why leverage? And so I'll come back to the dollar again. So let's think about oil prices. Let's think about anything that you would consider that's very sensitive to certain conditions, including even the weather. Right here in Texas, when you hear about it's going to be a freeze, and you probably know this. You're probably different from being up north, but down here, how people get.
Oh yes.
You hear it's going to be cold. and all the bread and all the milk is flying off the shelf. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
Like it
right.
looks like
Everything shuts
zombies are
down.
coming already. It's a wrap. So think about that same type of reaction, and think about how people would drive an extra 3 miles or 5 miles to get 10 cents off their gas, right?
Yeah.
And so so all of the crazy shit that we do to try to protect ourselves under these circumstances. Imagine if the dollar was literally fluctuating by 3, 4, 5, 10% a day. Like
Yeah.
it would
It'd be insane.
you wouldn't be able to function.
Yeah.
Absolutely. People would be scared to do everything, and so it would be bad for the banking system. And so what they do is they take pennies on a dollar, like 5 decimal points to the right of a penny, and they leverage that up. So now you're trading micro pennies, but they, because of leverage, they get the power of dollars, but it doesn't affect the economy. And so so that way that's how you get a $7 trillion market that's built on fractions of a penny, and that's what the Forex is. And so the power of that leverage allow in the 24-hour 5-day-a-week nature of the market allows you a lot more, to your point, opportunities through volatility and volume, because money is moving every day. You just get on that river and catch that boat to your destination, and you can do that over and over again on a regular basis. So that's why I like currency trading over stock trading. The other part is people will say, okay, so what is a currency trade? Like, are you actually buying the dollar, or are you buying stock in the dollar? And I understand that, because the common conversation is stock market, right? And so you're talking equity ownership and all that. So you're not buying currency in the expectation of just holding it and cashing out on it at some point.
Right.
Currency is literally like a seesaw in the playground area. So for it to really work, you need two people on it. And so you've got the base currency, and then you've got the quote currency. And so you got maybe, like, to say, the euro trading against the dollar. But in this, go ahead.
No, that was going to be my question. Actually, was about how, because it works in pairs. I thought, like,
exactly,
you can't just trade one asset. You have to trade an asset relative to another one. But please continue, because
no, you're right on. Exactly. So it's the seesaw. And so I'm going to kind of simplify it for, most people will understand this. If you're in the US and you're taking a trip to Mexico, let's say, right? So you're going to trade your dollars for peso. And so that, because you have to exchange the money, it has to be a two-party type transaction. And so we exchange our US dollars for pesos on this side of the border because of what you talked about when you were traveling to Italy, the law of supply and demand. And so the demand for pesos is obviously less in the US, even though we're very close to Mexico, than it is when we go to Mexico. And so, so you're right.
Okay.
Right. And so there you are. So you go to the currency exchange before you leave. You don't get the best rate, but you get a better rate than you would if you got down there. And maybe your bank has the best rate because, they get the stuff at, amazing. They set the rates.
Right.
But the point is you exchange it before you get down there. And so your money is taking part of a trade already by exchanging dollars for pesos. Now you go down there to Mexico, have your fun, and then whatever you have left, you exchange for dollars when you come back, or before you come back, normally when you come back. And so that's called, just like you take a round trip on a vacation, that currency trade, when you buy and close out with the pending sale or vice versa, that's called a round turn. And so what you're doing is you're exchanging your dollars for pesos for the time that you need to. And I'll speak to how that creates a value proposition in a minute. And then when you're done with it, or you feel like the value has been exhausted, you exchange back to dollars, and that's how you cash out. So you sell dollars, or you buy dollars and sell pesos, and then you have to buy pesos and sell dollars, or vice versa. So at some point, you've owned both currencies from a notional standpoint until you close out your trade.
One thing I can see with this is that, like, when you buy a stock or a futures contract, like, you only have the appreciation or the variables of that contract or whatever that industry is that you've selected. When you're doing a currency pair like that, like, you've got two inputs that you got to worry about. You got to worry about how the peso moves, but you also got to worry about the strength of the dollar as well, because that's what you want to convert it back to, right?
Correct.
So you almost have two things that could be working. It sounds like that could be super beneficial and also super dangerous too.
This is true. So to your point, those both are correct. And then so the volatility is going to be gotten in the velocity of that change, right? And so so just because the US is changing more or doing more, being more effective than the peso, it's really the velocity of that change, because only when you have market news, you see the market moving very heavily. When you get that that volume in there, that kind of shifts it, and that's when people really believe what they believe about whatever they believe, and so and they're taking action on that. And so with it's not really, and so you are paying attention to those things. But the best way to kind of save yourself is to always stay with obviously liquid, in really strong government. So I'm not like trading the Russian, was it the ruble? Right. I'm not trading that, I'm not even trading the rupee. Like,
I was thinking when that first cratered, I was like, man, someone's probably gonna make a lot of money on this thing when it rebounds.
so yeah, yeah. And so what's crazy, I actually, on the flip side, you could have made money on the front side because it's it would have been a
Uh-huh.
dollar ruble trade. And so you could
Yep.
have been buying the
Right.
dollar and selling a ruble simultaneously. And so, actually, I didn't even, man, because I'm so out of it. Like, people think that I watch Bloomberg because I really enjoy watching Bloomberg, but
Mm-hmm.
I am really so disconnected from the fundamental bullshit that people talk about. Like, and almost purposefully, because I'm like, man, I put a post out yesterday on LinkedIn. I was like, fundamentals inform people's ideology, but technicals inform people's profits, because
Mm-hmm.
you can I've seen people make a story up about something that happened a million times, but very few people ever give that predictive story on the front side. And I have, you
Uh-huh.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
put videos out on it. Like, I put videos out on Bitcoin when it was in the 70,000 plus range. I told people when I was shorting it, I shorted it online. I told people, where I thought it was going to go. I've done it for oil, done it for the indices. I've done it for gold. And even Tesla, I shorted, I called a short on Tesla in April. It was like April 15th of 2021, I think it was. Maybe it was last year. I don't remember whenever it was. Maybe it was last year. Whenever Tesla was
Mm-hmm.
about to fall, and shorted it. And then on the flip side, in the 190 range, I gave my homeboys kind of a heads up that it was about to go back up, and kind of gave them price points. And now it's up above 200 something, almost $300. And so the point I'm making with that is the technicals of the market really give you what you need to take action.
Mm-hmm.
And then the fundamentals really give people the psychological ease to justify the conversation, if that makes sense. And so,
Yeah, I've always looked at fundamentals as being more of like that's what I want to use when I'm picking out the strategies for my investment portfolio, not necessarily for my trading portfolio. Like when I make a trade, I'm using technicals all day
I,
long.
I, I agree with you 100%. And I have this conversation with friends of mine who are super smart. I mean, they're portfolio managers for major corporations and doing all kinds of stuff. And we get into these chats with each other. And I just love their doggedness about their conviction about certain things. And I'm like, that's cool, man. Like, I'm not even mad. Like, be on that train. And the train that you're on, you've got to kind of see, you got to do that, because that's the world you live in and play in. But
Yeah,
just
but use
don't poo poo on my parade. You know what I'm saying? Just because I
yeah.
don't look at that bullshit. And it's okay.
I look at those people and I wish like just learn a little bit about technicals and you get better entries with your fundamental
Thank
analysis.
you. Exactly. So if you use them both, actually, you're right. You can actually
Use
elevate
them
everything.
both.
Yeah.
Yes,
And so,
exactly.
yeah. But anyway, man. So yeah. So what you're doing is you basically the market structure shows up, and the reason I can call this on Bitcoin, Tesla, gold, the indice, whatever we want to do, whatever you want to trade, is because the price cycle has a structure in every market, because every market is driven by supply and demand, and in every market has some type of intermediary that's creating the liquidity. And as long as there's an intermediary, think sports betting. You got the sports bookie, the sports book.
Hmm.
They set the line at a certain point, but their whole goal is to get enough people to take the bet on this side of the line, move the line, and get enough people on the other side to where their risk is minimal.
Yeah.
And the same thing happens with market makers. So that's what they do, is when you look at a price cycle structure, you can see where they're actually influencing the market. They're taking opportunities, and they're setting up for themselves to, right, minimize their risk. And then when they
Ah.
move to the next level, they've already done what they need to do, and then they move on to the next price level. And so,
So you're looking for inefficiencies on how they're pricing their products.
right, or really the created the perceived inefficiencies that they create
Hmm.
as a way of lining up everybody on each side of the trade, and so
Right.
and so there's always a little bit of margin that they have, and we just piggyback on their little piece that they actually have in the market, because we know that that's the stake that they want to make money on. And so we follow them wherever they're going, or if they're going higher or lower, we wait for them to show us their hand. And then it's almost like watching the World Series of Poker online, and you can see, like, when they cut the camera on people's cards and you see how people behave. Like,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
almost get to see the market makers cards, and then we make a bet based on what they show us, and that's literally, you do that over
Interesting.
and over again, and make a living off of it.
You have anything that kind of talks about like how you identify those points?
I do. So I actually have. So the whole purpose of my business was when my dad passed in 2015. I had some time on my hands, and I was really wanting to help people empower themselves financially. So it was born when my dad was when he was ill. He was dealing with colon cancer, and my now wife and I we moved from Frisco, where I was in Frisco. We moved to Las Colinas, and then we moved back to Dallas, in Dallas proper, and rented a house close to my parents because my dad was dealing with cancer. And so I was grateful that we had the time, freedom, and the ability to actually be present with my dad.
Yeah.
And so I thought about that a lot on, in that year of his passing. What could I do for men? So I started something called Forex for Dads. I wanted to teach dads how to trade Forex so that they could actually have more freedom of time, not only for their families or for their communities or for their kids, but for themselves, so that they could self-actualize and become better versions of themselves without having to go and get a second job. And so
Right.
under that premise, I created an online course and took, basically anybody who, like, the less of a trader you are, the better, because you know what
Right.
I mean?
Less bad habits to unlearn.
Absolutely. Less to unlearn. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Less plumbing to fix. And so it was really, I created a step-by-step online course, which is a part of what I call the DIY membership on FM Trades. And it took off, and I started attracting business owners and entrepreneurs, kind of like I was telling you, that was my resonance. And so what came of it, because I used to have also live boot camps called Train the Trader Live. That was kind of a take on the military term of train the trainer. And so
Yep.
you know what
I
I'm saying?
remember
Yeah,
those.
right.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I had trained the traders, and there would be 2-day boot camps where people would fly in, and I would literally get them up to speed on how to take their first trade and be successful or identify entries basically in 48 hours. It was like 2 long boot camps. And so
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
it was really a lot of fun. So in 2018, I think it was like a couple years before COVID hit. I had a lot of healthcare professionals. I had specifically doctors and nurses coming to my classes a lot.
Mhm.
And I remember one doctor, he was like, I love this information. This is really good stuff. I see it, but we rescheduled this class 3 times for us to make it here. So how much would it just be for you to do it for me? And so
Right.
we launched the DFY, the Done For You side, officially a few years ago, to where we would just trade for you. But even in that, you still get access to the online course, because my premise is really empowerment. It's not, for me to do it for
Yeah.
you, but I wanted to give people a way to where, if they were concerned about the time to learn, that, okay, let me insert myself and trade on your behalf while you get the ease with the process. And then at some point you can take your time and learn it yourself, but you don't feel the pressure, and that way you'll have a better chance of success. So it all kind of worked in together. But yeah, the online course that I created was really built for people to self learn, and with the recordings and the mentorship, all that stuff that comes with it, people will learn how to trade for themselves so that they can really self-empower financially.
I love that message. And I was a little nervous at first, the first time I saw that do it for me.
Mhm.
But I love the way you explained that. And like, even just having, I don't know, I'm thinking back to my experience. And if I had gone that route, it probably would have cost me less money during my learning years.
Sure.
I just said, okay, here's what I want to trade with. You take that. And while you're trading that, I'm going to be following the entries, looking along, learning through the back catalog of all the library, and see, like, okay, now that I've seen it done right, I can at least, have a frame of reference for that and be able to educate myself better.
Absolutely. And so, I mean, I've been grateful. I was actually had a mentorship call with somebody who's actually in the DFY program, but they started he's a kind of a do-it-yourselfer at heart, and so he started learning how to,
Hmm.
started reading the material and studying it. And so we had a great conversation this morning about where he is, and it's just really cool, because for me, the reason the selfish aspect of the reason I did it was not only the joy of, like, teaching other people, but it was a way to keep myself in check, because as you probably know, trading can be really it can really be really lonely, because you don't really meet
And humbling.
and it can humble you, for sure, bro, for sure. And
Yeah.
the longer you stay in, the humbler you get, but
Right. Yep.
but I would say, man, I started teaching people not only to empower them, but really, well, I always say, it's kind of like a relationship. At some point, you need her to be a librarian. Sometimes you need her in a certain type of skirt. Sometimes you need her to wear glasses, And so that was me in trading. It was like,
Yeah.
what I need to keep trading interesting. So how can I dress trading up to keep it sexy for me? And so teaching others was a way for me to keep myself honest as a trader, and then
Yeah.
still empower other people, because when you're out there by yourself, man, you do some weird shit. Like, you start taking risks that what I'm saying? I'm serious. You start,
I know.
yeah, you
I
know what I'm
know.
saying? Like, you start justifying behavior that you shouldn't be justifying, what I call that at
Yep.
3 a.m. behavior. You know what I'm saying? anything you got to think about at 3 o'clock in the morning probably ain't something you need to be
Oh,
doing. Whether so it's like if you got to ask yourself a question at 3 o'clock in the morning, it's probably not something you need to be into. So that's the same. So that 3 a.m. behavior, man, with a trader, when you don't have anybody holding you accountable but yourself, like
right.
that was the gift for me. Is like teaching people not only helps them, but it helps me because I want to always be an example for them. And when I'm sending them trades, because my students actually get my live trades sent in a group chat, with my entries, stop loss, take profits, all that, time frames. And one vertical actually has the, tell them how much risk I'm taking or I would take on this trade. And so when I'm doing that, because I want them to win, like if I see a bullshit trade, I can't take it, So it's like a
Right,
low
right, right.
probability trade actually, my students actually save me from trading poorly, So it's kind of a neat little kind of yin yang
That's
thing.
kind of how the podcast ended up morphing into when I started this with Dan. Like telling everybody about like your struggles on the air. Like at some point, like you finally realize, like, hey, maybe I don't want to take this trade because I don't want to tell everybody about how stupid I was on
Exactly,
Friday.
exactly. Little ego play, right? Exactly, brother. Exactly right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
so it keeps you in check. But the community thing, like, man, we're how lucky are we that like just in the last 15 years, like the ability to be able to connect with other traders and be able to build that kind of community, so that way you're not boring your wives or your spouses or your best friends or other people who have no interest in what you're doing, but you got to have somebody to talk to.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you don't want to be in solitary when you're talking about money and trading. So I agree with you, man. Like,
Yeah,
the times have really curated a very beautiful opportunity for us to really, flourish.
mm-hmm,
So yeah,
mm-hmm.
man, I'm with you. I'm grateful for it.
Now, you kind of briefly touched on your dad, but I was listening to another podcast appearance you did. I think it was on the Visionaries or
Oh, Vision
something
Lab.
along those
Yeah, yeah,
lines.
yeah, yeah.
Vigilant, yeah.
Definitely.
You talked a lot on there about how your dad kind of shaped your experiences and really kind of gave you guidance when you were growing up. I was curious, like how that, like, what did he teach you that really stuck with you throughout the years?
Man, thanks for that question. So I would say, more than anything, it was more through observation. So my dad was he was the last part of his career. He was in the McDonald's business. Well, not the last part, but the part of his career which was most influential to me was he was in the McDonald's business industry, and so he never owned his own stores, but he went from corporate to working for owner operators.
Mm-hmm.
And specifically, he was working with African American owner operators, and so there was a very small group of people that were in that vein back in the 80s, and even 90s. It's different now, but
Yeah.
so we all became very close. We really became like a big family. But I saw how he would go into these. And the reason he was so valuable to them is he would always come in, no matter how good or how poorly they were doing, and he always found ways to make it better, like literally to improve them,
Mm-hmm.
like in a real way. And more so than that, though, what I got to see from my dad was his leadership, to where he had compassion, but he also held people accountable, and he gave people the levity to do what they need to do while holding them accountable. And he was a great team builder, man. One of the owner operators he worked for, a lady named Rita Mack out of Atlantic City. She had one store about 2 blocks off the boardwalk in Atlantic City. It may still be there. I think she owns some more now, but he helped her turn around her store and increase her sales and all that stuff. But he had this thing on Thursday nights where he would take his managers and his team. They would go bowling over at the Showboat Casino, and then we would go
Mm-hmm.
bowling on Thursdays, and it was a regular thing. So I just saw him even before I went to the military. I saw him with the team building. I saw him,
Yeah.
show people who be a father to fatherless kids, because some of these stores were in the hood in Dallas, and so I saw him be a father, be there for his people, and then also hold them accountable and give them opportunities to succeed. Where they were never in leadership positions, he put people in leadership positions. And so I say all that to say that my dad, he was exhibiting a lot of leadership characteristics that I didn't have the vocabulary for.
Yeah.
And then he also was a dude that something I had to learn later in life, how it empowered me. But my dad was a dude that always spoke his mind, to the point where it kind of made me uneasy. He always said what he thought. You know what I'm saying? I'm like,
Yep.
I don't know if I was ready for that. But but it worked for him. So that was one of the things that
Yeah.
I aspired to more than anything, was the freedom to speak your mind, no matter who's listening, who you're talking to, and not in an offensive way, but really in a self-asserting way. Say, hey, man, this is where I'm at, and this is how I see it, and that's just what it is. Respect to what you got going on, and so. I just got to see him through the McDonald's business actually empower so many people's lives. He taught me about leadership. He taught me about discretion of leadership and how you don't, how you don't front people out in front of their subordinates. And I mean, he just a lot of things that I
Mm-hmm.
took with me to the military and into life. And the reason I knew I was getting kind of a great confirmation of that I was getting good data from my dad was when he passed away. Actually, my wife's aunt, and I didn't know this because I didn't even know my wife up until the last 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
He was her first job. Like, so he gave her first job. And if I tell you, I've got friends who are attorneys, business professionals, owner operators at McDonald's right now. And they always say, man, he gave me a shot. He gave me a chance. He was my first, like the first job I ever had. He gave me a shot. And so
Ah,
it was just really dope, man.
damn.
Yeah. Just kind of see it through the
Yeah.
eyes of other people. And so he was just naturally that dude, man. And so I'm grateful that I was able to live under his roof. Now, he got on my ass. I mean, he did what he needed to do. But when it was all said and done, to watch him and the way he interacted with the world, he was just a very consistent dude, man. And I appreciated his consistency.
It sounds like he also cared about people too, and that's one of the things that I always hate to see, like people talking about relationships. Like they always give the mouth service, but how many people actually like really genuinely care about the person that they're talking
For
to?
sure.
And it sounds like your dad was exhibiting that to a T.
I agree with you. I agree with you on that. And that reminds me of when Lou Hopes, I got a chance to see him speak. I think when we were at West Point, and he spoke to us,
But
and he was
try to speak,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. He tried to speak. And so he had these two mantras. He said, well, I always tell my my players is I tell my coaches is all people want to know is can you do what you say you can do, but also can I trust you? Do you care about me? You know what I mean?
Oh, I think I've seen
Ye-
that
Yeah,
video.
yeah. He made a mint
Yeah,
like just saying that. You
yeah.
know? And so that reminded me he cared about people and he did what he said he was going to do. And so like yeah, I mean he checked those boxes, man.
I, man, how lucky are we to have people like that in our lives?
For
Like my
sure.
grandpa is that for me. Like he was the one who really shaped a lot of my youth. Just so grateful to have somebody like that that could really exhibit and like demonstrate like through doing it, like give me a real role model to follow. You know?
Right on, for sure, brother, for sure.
Oh man.
Yes.
Um,
So yeah, I mean, I don't know if I got into all the specifics what you wanted me about, Forex and the basics and all that, but yeah,
no, but I think you gave us a spot where we can go check that out. I mean, I was browsing through your YouTube channel. Looks like you got a ton of great content on there. We got the Forex fam, the fmtrades.com that we can go check out. Is there anything else, any other references that you'd like to recommend to anybody that maybe wants to is interested in Forex and wants to learn more about how to trade it and
yeah,
how to do it?
yeah. So I mean, as far as what we offer, yeah, fmtrades.com is what you need. But I would also say, beyond that, one website that I really loved, and matter of fact, to the point that I think that they probably give you way more information that you need, but it's a great resource. Is a website called babypips.com. BABY pips.
Baby
Yeah.
PIPS.
Yeah, pips.com.
Okay, I'll make sure that's in the episode description.
Yeah, check that out. I mean, great. It's one of the best, hands down, free websites I've ever been to learn about Forex. And they just do it in a really compelling way. So yeah, check that out as well, in addition to fmtrades.com.
Yeah, are you gonna bring back the trading competitions? I'd love to see somebody bring one of those back.
Hey,
The
bro,
paper trade accounts.
hey, you know what? We'll get there. We're doing a lot of stuff with prop firms now. So, we're leveraging prop firm money now. So we're not even having to put our own money in the market, which is so cool. And
Oh
that's,
wow.
yeah, so you can drive like real returns with other people's resources. So I think that'll be in the works, man. We'll probably find some formation of a prop firm that we can use to get people in the competition so that the loser doesn't lose their money, like
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's got to be paper trade at some
exactly,
point,
exactly
right?
paper trading only, So yeah, man. But I'm here for it. I hopefully have a lot of life to live, and my boys are 10 and 9, and so I'm committed to this piece until they turn 18 because they're already learning how to trade with me and stuff. But
Ah, that's exciting.
it's super dope.
I've been wanting to see. You have to show me their trade logs at some point when they start
Yeah,
taking their own, because I've
absolutely.
always wanted to see what would happen if you started somebody with no experience.
Yeah, no doubt. I think my this is this is almost like a Venus and Serena conversation. So my sons, yeah, so my two sons, Christian is my eldest, so he's 10, and then Asher's 9. And Asher is actually the one I feel like, now Christian's super smart. He's like a cyber geek. He's into cybersecurity, and he said he
Probably
wanted to be,
crypto too.
man, he will be like, he's a
Yeah, yeah,
gamer.
yeah.
He's all of that, but Asher is really like, they both love being around, but Asher really enjoys what I do. Like, he sits on my lap and watches me. And we talk about uptrends, downtrends. I mean, like, and he's into it. So I'm going to make a bold prediction, like Richard. Like, I'm going to say that the younger will be the one that will be the Hall of Famer in Forex, if there is one. So, yeah. But it's exciting, man, because I mean, just the fact that if I had a runway to where I could literally have 8 to 10 years to learn a craft with no need to create money for myself.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
No
like
kidding.
That changes everything, And so that's why we're on the journey we're on, man. We're trying to free people up and collapse time, because we ain't really got that much time, man, no matter how long we live.
Unfortunately, huh?
Yeah, man. So anyway.
Yeah, just well, shit.
What do you do?
I just turned 40, man. You're just making me feel like, crap.
Bruh, man, I've lived I lived like 3 or 4 lives, man. I'm about to be 49 in September, so I'm just big brother to you. I ain't like, I just got 9 years of bullshit.
I feel the same way though too. Like, I had my I jumped out in high school, lived on my own for half my senior year, joined the military right out of there. I've worked careers in the steel industry. Went to the Navy to get trained up on how to be a nuclear engineer, and now I'm trying to be a trader and a podcaster. Like, that's crazy, man, I've had a good run.
That's dope. Yeah, that's dope, man. I mean, be Navy, by the way, but yeah, thank you for your service.
I wasn't sure if I should bring that up. I don't remember. I don't think we have much of a. There's not a whole lot of issues between Army and Navy, right? They don't really see each other very often.
Not at all. It's purely the so like you say, being at West Point, that's our rival. So we, everything is beat Navy.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So it's just Army Navy games.
That's Annapolis. Yeah, that's all. I'm just clowning.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
No, I was not smart enough to be a officer.
Well, I'll tell you what. I don't know if I agree with that. Maybe you're smart enough to not be. Maybe you just wasn't on your path when you were on it. What I gleaned from you is that is not the case. So
maybe okay. Let's say motivated. I wasn't motivated enough to get through school.
That makes more sense. Now, I'll buy that. I'll buy that, but I won't buy that other thing. Yeah, I'm gonna leave that on the shelf, bro. So, but yeah, man.
All right. Well, man, this has been such a fun conversation, Kevin. I'm gonna have to bring you back for sure.
Thanks,
especially if you get one of these contests going, man. I'll definitely get you back. We'll
right on. Okay, right.
We'll definitely want to take part of that if I can.
We'll figure it out then.
Unfortunately, that does mean we have come to the end of our time with Kevin, but don't worry. You don't have to stress out. We got his YouTube channel at Forex Fam that you can check out. We got the website, fmtrades.com. If you need more Kevin in your life, check those out.
Thank you so much.
No problem, man.
You are a joy, man. I'm really excited to build this relationship and do more with you.
Oh, we'll definitely do more. We'll be back soon, though, with another exciting episode. But in the meantime, nothing says job well done like a firm tap on that 5-star button. Take care.
All right. Oh, spoken like a bachelor. Uh-oh. How do you get back home?
I know, right? It's getting lonely here.
Right on.
Two Bulls in a China Shop is an entertainment program, and all thoughts and opinions expressed in the show belong to the hosts and not of any company. They are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual or on any specific security or investment product. It is only intended to provide entertainment about stocks in the financial industry of trading. If you make trades based on what you hear in this show, you assume all risks for those trades.